The city's skyline is shattered under a boiling twilight sky. Buildings lie broken and streets are torn asunder, as if a god's hand had swept across the metropolis. In the midst of the ruins stands a green behemoth, skin glowing with anger-fueled energy. The Hulk's chest heaves with each breath like a furnace bellows, rage incarnate, poised to erupt again. Across from him hovers a man wreathed in golden light, the Sentry, his eyes burning like twin suns, illuminating the devastation below. Dust and ash swirl in the air between them, caught in the updraft of heat, radiating from two titanic auras. The very atmosphere crackles with tension. Without a word or warning, the Hulk launches forward in a blur of motion, cracking the pavement beneath with the force of his leap. His fist, the size of a boulder, swings upward at the floating golden guardian. The Sentry meets the charge head-on, diving down with comet-like speed. They collide in midair with an impact that shatters every remaining window for miles. A shockwave ripples outward, toppling what walls and structures remained standing from the earlier carnage. The force of the clash pushes the Sentry back through the air. But he catches himself, feet skidding through the sky as if it was solid ground. The Hulk lands amidst a crater of his own making, legs bent and fists pressed into cracked asphalt. The ground beneath him buckles and sinks under his incredible weight and power. With a snarl, the Green Titan explodes upward again. Each movement is a blur of brute strength. He swings a massive backhand at the Sentry, who this time catches the blow in his open palm. For an instant, the two Titans are locked in a test of strength. Hulk's bulging arm driving forward, Sentry's glowing hand holding it at bay. The street beneath the Hulk's planted feet craters further, spiderweb fissures radiating outwards as the force finds release in the ground. Energy flares around the Sentry's form as he channels more of his immeasurable power to hold the Hulk in check. Teeth gritted, the golden hero's aura pulses brighter, a corona of light pushing against the Hulk's own raging emerald energy. Sentry's muscles strain. Despite his immense strength, the Hulk's sheer physical might is pushing him back inch by inch. The Hulk roars, an earth-shaking bellow of fury that blasts hot breath and spittle into the air. He redoubles his effort. With a final heave, the Hulk breaks the deadlock, wrenching his arm forward and tossing the Sentry aside. The golden figure sails through the remains of an office tower, crashing through concrete and steel, before stabilizing himself in the air beyond it. No respite is given. The Hulk is already bounding after him. He plows through the base of the ruined building the Sentry just smashed through, his momentum reducing support columns to powder. The entire structure groans and collapses in a billowing cloud of debris as the Hulk emerges on the other side, leaping straight toward the recovering Sentry. In midair above the city street, Sentry retaliates with a blazing beam of light from his outstretched hands. It's as if a piece of the sun itself were unleashed. A lance of searing energy lances toward the onrushing Hulk. The golden beam strikes the Hulk full in the chest, halting his leap in an explosion of light. The impact is devastating. The ground below is scoured clean in a radius around the collision point, rubble turned to molten slag. Hulk is hurled backward by the blast, sent crashing down the avenue, carving a deep trench as his body skids through asphalt and concrete. For a moment, Sentry hovers with his hands still outstretched, tendrils of luminescent smoke rising from his fingertips. His chest heaves. He had poured tremendous power into that blast to stop the charging brute. He watches intently through the settling dust for any sign of movement. The street is quiet save for the crackle of fires and crumble of loosened masonry. A crater of glowing embers marks where the Hulk was struck. Then, a low growl echoes from within the smoke. Sentry's eyes narrow. From the heart of the impact crater, the Hulk rises. His skin smolders but rapidly knits itself whole, burns fading as his healing factor kicks in. If anything, the giant looks even angrier. His shredded pants and the tatters of what was once a shirt flutter off his frame in the hot wind. Green gamma energy wisps dance off his shoulders as he stands tall once more. With a snort of defiance, the Hulk hammers both fists against the ground. The shock of the double fist slam bucks the earth, rippling outward in a localized earthquake. Chunks of street and building remnants bounce and fall from the force. Sentry is jostled in the air, momentarily losing stability. His brief lapse of focus is all the Hulk needs. In the blink of an eye, the emerald behemoth hurtles upward, leaping higher than before, a titanic uppercut aimed at Sentry's midsection. This time, the Hulk's strike finds its mark. The blow connects with a sound like an artillery cannon. Sentry's golden form jackknifes in the air as the air rushes out of him. He rockets upwards from the impact, involuntarily propelled by the Hulk's punch. His trajectory carries him 1,000 feet into the sky before he manages to halt himself, clutching his abdomen. Pain, a sensation Sentry rarely feels, lances through his core. Below, the Hulk crashes back down to earth, cracking the pavement yet again. The green titan glares skyward, muscles coiled and ready to pursue his foe to the heavens if necessary. Sentry shakes off the pain. He can scarcely believe the Hulk's ferocity. This is no ordinary rage fueling the creature. It is a boundless well of power that seems to grow by the minute. The Golden Guardian's heart pounds as he realizes the battle's trajectory. The longer it goes, the stronger the Hulk becomes. He must end this quickly, before the scale of destruction escalates beyond control. Summoning a deep breath, Sentry calls upon more of the stellar energy within him. His entire body shines brighter, outlining him against the darkening sky as the sun dips below the horizon. He descends in a blur, driving a flying punch at the Hulk with all the force he can muster. The Hulk, far below, sees the descending comet of golden light and meets it head-on. He leaps up, one fist raised, the other bracing the ground to launch him with maximal power. They collide again, fist to fist this time. Sentry's glowing, immaculate and tightly clenched, against Hulk's gigantic hand knotted with muscle and rage. The impact is like a meteor striking Earth. A spherical shockwave erupts at the point of contact, flattening what few structures remained in a wide radius. The ground splits open in jagged chasms as the force travels through it. High above, clouds are parted and vaporized from the explosive release of energy. For a heartbeat, neither combatant yields in that clash, suspended amid the dust and energy storms wrought by their power. The standoff breaks as both are blasted backward by the force of their own collision. Sentry is flung into the upper atmosphere, tumbling end over end before righting himself among wisps of cloud. The Hulk plummets back down and lands on his back, carving a new impact crater in an area that had once been a busy intersection. He snarls and rolls to his feet, shaking off the disorientation. Both Titans recover nearly instantaneously, their bodies fortified by power beyond comprehension. The Hulk's eyes burn with wrath as he spots Sentry reappearing overhead, while Sentry's eyes glow with determination and a hint of mounting concern. Below them, the city can no longer be called a city. It is a war zone of craters, fires, and leveled structures. The fight has lasted mere minutes, yet entire blocks have been reduced to dust. And both warriors are just getting started. A deep rumble rolls through the ruins as the Hulk slams his fists together in challenge, the sound like an oncoming thunderstorm. High above, Sentry wipes a trickle of blood from the corner of his mouth, red against the golden glow of his skin. He cannot remember the last time anything drew blood from him. The realization only steels his resolve. With a sharp burst of speed, he darts downward. In a heartbeat, he circles behind the Hulk, moving faster than a fighter jet, leaving a trail of light. Before the green Goliath can turn, Sentry delivers a crushing blow to the Hulk's side, then another to his back, then a third to the back of his knee. Each strike is a supersonic hammer. To any observer, the Sentry would appear as a streaking blur of light raining punishment on the giant. Hulk staggers from the sudden onslaught. The flurry of impacts drives him down onto one knee, asphalt caving beneath it. Sentry doesn't let up. He rockets in front of the Hulk and swings a two-fisted smash down onto the Hulk's bowed head. The street buckles as the Hulk is driven face-first into the ground by the blow, a cloud of dust and debris blasting upward from the epicenter. For an instant, it seems the green behemoth might actually be subdued. Hovering just above the ground, Sentry keeps his fists pressed against the back of Hulk's skull, pouring on pressure in hopes of keeping the monster pinned. His muscles tremble with exertion as he channels the might of 1,000,000 exploding suns into holding one angry titan down. The pavement beneath the Hulk sinks even deeper, forming a crater around the kneeling giant. Sentry grits his teeth, grim determination etched on his face. He silently wills the monster to stay down. But the Hulk does not stay down. From beneath Sentry's doubled fists comes a growing sound, a low, guttural growl that rises in pitch and fury. The Hulk's arms, braced against the ground, start to straighten, lifting his shoulders and head, despite Sentry's crushing force. Sentry's eyes widen in disbelief as the Hulk stands up slowly, back bent under Sentry's pressing hands but rising all the same. The ground quakes as Hulk straightens to full height, then beyond, with a bellowing roar, he heaves upward with such power that Sentry is flung off him like a rider tossed from a bucking bull. The Sentry hurtles upward end over end before catching himself mid-air. Hulk whirls around to face him, and what Sentry sees gives him pause. The Hulk's skin, usually a solid green, now glows with veins of burning gamma energy. His eyes are alight with wrathful fire. With each massive breath he takes, the ground around him pulses and cracks, responding to the titanic energy gathering inside his frame. This fury is not merely rage, it is an apocalypse caged in flesh and unleashed by anger. With an ear-splitting crack, the Hulk leaps again, fists outstretched. He claps his hands together in mid-leap, generating a thunderclap shockwave directed at the hovering Sentry. The concussive blast of air hits Sentry like a freight train, catching him off guard. It smashes into him, interrupting his concentration and tossing him back. In that split second, the Hulk closes the gap. He grabs a chunk of broken concrete the size of a truck from the ground and swings it upward as he jumps, striking Sentry in the side with the impromptu club. The slab explodes into powder against Sentry's invulnerable body, but the impact sends the golden hero careening through the air until he crashes through the facade of a skyscraper already half collapsed. Sentry bursts out from the other side of the building in a shower of glass and steel, shaking the rubble off his shoulders. He hovers above the ruins, breathing hard now, frustration knitting his brow. Below, the Hulk lands and glares up, pounding a fist into his open palm. Rubble and loose asphalt bounce around him with each thunderous hit of his fist to hand. The message is clear, Hulk is far from finished. The last light of day finally slips away, casting the battleground into an early night lit only by flames and the Sentry's golden glow. Around the city, distant emergency sirens wail in worry, though no responders dare approach the epicenter of this cataclysm. Evacuation alarms had long since cleared the area. Millions of lives hang in the balance beyond the blast radius, watching with bated breath from safer distances as two forces of nature collide. High above the ruins, Sentry realizes half measures will no longer suffice. The air around him begins to hum as he summons the full, terrifying scale of his power. His aura brightens from gold to white-hot, an intense brilliance that casts sharp shadows in the wreckage below. The temperature in the vicinity skyrockets. Metal debris glows red from the heat of his charging energy. This is the might that Sentry fears unleashing, the power that could level mountains in a blink. But faced with the unrelenting ferocity of the Hulk, he sees no other choice. On the ground, the Hulk glares up at the radiance above, teeth bared. He can sense what's coming, and it only stokes his fury further. Memories flash unbidden through the Hulk's enraged mind. Betrayal at the hands of allies who had once banished him to the stars. the painful loss of a distant world he had briefly called home, and the love he found and lost in fire and death. The pain of those recollections surges through him, transmuting into raw, cataclysmic power. Gamma energy floods every cell of his body. The Green Titan's muscles swell further, his posture rising to an even more imposing height. A nimbus of emerald light surrounds him now, growing in intensity like a volcano on the brink of eruption. Pebbles and loose stones around him begin levitating, caught in the static charge of power coursing through the air. The Hulk's rage has entered a new realm, one that has torn worlds asunder. This is the birth of the World Breaker. With a furious cry, Hulk slams a foot down. The impact is no mere stomp. It is as if a giant's foot pressed on the planet's crust. The ground ruptures in a spiderweb spreading out for blocks. A deep bass sound, like the groan of the earth itself, emanates as pavement and bedrock split. In an instant, multiple city blocks around the Hulk upheave. Chunks of concrete the size of cars are tossed upward by the tremor. Distant skyscrapers, already damaged, sway precariously from the seismic ripple. Windows shatter for dozens of miles, and distant buildings crumble under the strain of the sudden quake. The entire region trembles as the Hulk's unleashed power reaches unprecedented levels. Sentry is momentarily horrified. He expected the Hulk's strength to grow, but this is a level he's never witnessed. He steadies himself in the air as the shockwave from Hulk's stomp reaches him, buffeting his hovering form. The city beneath them is now a broken, uneven landscape of upheaved ground and raging fires. If not for the earlier evacuation, countless lives would have been lost just now. Even miles away, onlookers and news cameras capturing the battle see the ground lurch and feel the rumble. The Hulk's wrath is threatening to tear the very earth apart. Golden energy surges around Sentry as he prepares his ultimate attack. His eyes shine like miniature stars as he concentrates, drawing on the immeasurable well of power within. He raises both palms forward, fingers splayed, aiming at the raging titan below. The air between his hands and the Hulk distorts, shimmering with latent energy. Then, with a shout of exertion, Sentry unleashes it. A beam of energy as broad as a skyscraper blasts downward from the hero's hands. It is pure sunlight condensed into destructive force, nuclear in its intensity, blindingly bright. Night briefly turns to day as the column of golden-white energy engulfs the Hulk's position. The roar of the beam is deafening, a high-pitched whine underpinning a massive thunderclap as the energy pierces through the atmosphere. Ground and rock vaporize into a cloud of glassy sand under the beam. For several relentless seconds, Sentry pours the entirety of his unleashed might into the attack, carving a trench of boiling earth that extends far beneath the city's surface. From a distance, it looks as if a pillar of pure light has erupted from the heavens, lighting up the smoke-filled sky. Finally, the beam ceases. Sentry's hands fall to his sides, smoking, his chest heaving from the monumental exertion. He has just unleashed more raw power than he ever dared to before. Below him, an enormous section of the city is simply gone. In its place lies a molten scar in the earth, glowing orange with molten rock at the bottom of a deep crater. Sentry's glowing eyes scan the destruction for any sign of the Hulk. Even he struggles to believe anything could survive that onslaught. For a few heartbeats, there is nothing. Thick plumes of steam and smoke billow from the superheated ground. The edges of the crater trickle with melted glass from sand. The very air shimmers with residual heat. Sentry listens intently, the world around them holding its breath. Then, a tremor, a thunderous boom resounds from deep within the crater. Sentry's eyes widen in disbelief as he sees, rising from the molten depths, a figure climbing up the edge of the chasm. It's the Hulk, battered, skin charred and cracked in places from the unimaginable heat, but very much alive. Alive and seething with more rage than ever. As the Hulk pulls himself out of the crater, molten lava-like sludge drips from his body but does not slow him. His regenerative powers already kick in. Charred skin peels away to reveal new, angrier flesh beneath. His emerald aura, dimmed for a moment by the onslaught, now flares back to life with a vengeance. Every injury has only served to feed his fury further. The Worldbreaker stands once more, a literal inferno of gamma energy swirling around his form, his eyes shining a piercing green through the settling dust. A shock runs through the sentry, a rare cocktail of awe and dread. He has thrown everything at the Hulk, and still the beast rises. Worse, the Hulk seems to draw strength from the punishment, his power climbing to even more fantastic heights. The ground under Hulk's feet glows with an eerie green light, cracks in the earth filled with luminescent gamma energy like magma. The Worldbreaker's mere presence is now irradiating the area with raw power. Hulk fixes his gaze on the sentry, and for the first time, the golden hero feels a bead of cold sweat form on his brow. In that blistering inferno below, Hulk's expression has shifted. What was once undirected rage is now focused, intent. Hulk's lips curl in a snarl that looks almost like a cruel grin. He knows Sentry is reaching his limit, and that he, the Hulk, is far from it. Anger and adrenaline surging. Sentry clenches his fists so hard they tremble. Deep within his psyche, he feels a familiar darkness stirring. The strain of unleashing so much power, coupled with the flicker of fear, has weakened the mental walls he so carefully maintains. In the back of his mind, a voice, insidious and hungry, laughs in a void of black. The void, Sentry's dark other half, senses an opportunity to slip its leash. Sentry shakes his head violently, trying to clear the encroaching shadow from his thoughts. Not yet, he tells himself. He will not let that darkness loose, not unless there is absolutely no alternative. But as the Hulk's bellowing roar tears across the night and the green behemoth charges forward once more, leaving craters with each titanic stride, Sentry realizes that the moment he fears may be upon him. Hulk bounds upward, and the leap carries him shockingly high. The Worldbreaker's jump nearly reaches Sentry's altitude in a single bound. The Hulk swings an open hand and catches Sentry off guard, swatting him out of the air with a bone-rattling strike. Sentry is sent flying sideways, smashing through the shattered husk of a high-rise and skidding through the sky above the harbor beyond the city. Hulk lands and immediately leaps after him, crossing the distance above the water in a few thunderous bounds across the bay. Sentry stabilizes himself above the dark waters, but the Hulk is already upon him with another leap. In desperation, Sentry lashes out with a punch of his own, meeting Hulk's charge mid-air just above the bay. Fist meets face with a concussive boom that parts the waters beneath them in a circular wave. The blow would have leveled a mountain. It snaps the Hulk's head to the side and sends him arcing downwards, crashing into the bay with a geyser of water that sizzles into steam around his superheated body. Yet Sentry knows even that will only slow the monster for seconds. Hovering over the bay, Sentry's golden glow flickers erratically. His breath comes in ragged pulls. He gazes toward where the Hulk submerged. The bay churns violently, enormous waves sloshing against the shore and capsizing nearby boats. The water itself glows green beneath the surface, an ominous sign. Sentry's heart pounds in his ears. He can feel the void pushing at the door of his mind, eager to be free, to face this challenge itself. With a great roar, the Hulk erupts from the waters back into the air. His fists are clenched, his muscles tensed with unrelenting fury. Water cascades off his colossal frame. His green glow has not dimmed in the slightest from the dunking. If anything, the Hulk looks larger than before, shoulders broader, his mass fueled by ceaseless wrath. Seeing the Hulk rising toward him again, Sentry finally understands. This battle has escalated beyond anything he can handle within the confines of his usual limits. To stop the Hulk, to save the world from this unstoppable rage, he may have to let go of the very thing he has held back all along. as Hulk soars upward with another furious swing aimed at him. Sentry closes his eyes for a split second and lets the mental barriers fall. In that instant, the world itself seems to hold its breath. The Hulk's glowing fist is inches from Sentry, and then a flash of utter blackness erupts from the golden hero's form. An ebony aura explodes outward, colliding with the Hulk mid-punch. The green giant is thrown back through the air by an unseen force as darkness billows around Sentry like ink in water. When Hulk crashes onto the ruined docks below, he shakes off the blow, confused for a moment. Above him, Sentry is changed. The brilliant golden radiance that lit the night has vanished, replaced by a writhing shroud of shadow. Sentry's eyes, once shining white, now gleam a menacing crimson through the darkness enveloping him. His posture is eerily still, floating above the bay as tendrils of black vapor coil off his body. The void has been unleashed. A chilling silence hangs over the bay, as the void-made man and the world-breaker size each other up. The Hulk stands on the ruined dock, chest heaving, radiating green luminescence from every pore. Above him, the Sentry's form is now just a dark silhouette within a seething mass of living darkness. The water around the dock sloshes violently, unsettled by the sheer energy in the air and the malevolent presence now manifest. Without warning, the void-empowered Sentry makes his move. He descends like a hawk, cloaked in shadow, and smashes into the Hulk with a new ferocity. They slam together, and the dock beneath Hulk's feet obliterates under the impact, sending splinters of wood and concrete flying. The Hulk swings at the Sentry, but his fist passes through an afterimage of darkness. The Void Sentry is unnaturally fast and fluid, his form flickering in and out of tangible state. Before Hulk can regain balance, inky black tendrils lash out from the void, swirling around Sentry. They wrap around Hulk's arms and legs like the tentacles of a kraken, constricting with unholy strength. The tendrils lift the Hulk off the ground, suspending the massive titan in the air. Hulk roars and struggles mightily, muscles straining. But the shadowy bonds stretch and multiply, seeking to restrain even his titanic might. With a sweeping gesture from the Sentry's outstretched arm, the tendrils of void energy hurl the Hulk across the bay. The green Goliath's body skips across the water like a stone thrown by a giant, each impact sending up a tsunami-sized splash. Hulk crashes into the far shoreline, plowing through warehouse structures along the waterfront. Metal shipping containers crumple like paper under his hurtling body until he is half buried in the side of a concrete grain silo which collapses onto him in a cloud of dust. The dark figure that was Sentry hovers across the bay in pursuit, gliding silently above the water's surface. The only light from him are those hellish red eyes, narrowed with malevolence. This is the void-given form, cruel, calculating, and utterly intent on destruction. Before the rubble can even settle, Hulk erupts from beneath it, swinging a massive chunk of concrete straight at the approaching Void Sentry. The dark figure doesn't even flinch as the debris passes through his semi-solid form. With a snarl of frustration, Hulk hurls himself at the Sentry, arms outstretched to grapple. His hands catch hold of the Sentry's shoulders, and for a moment he grips something solid, the silhouette of the man within the shadow. Hulk seizes that chance, drawing back his head and delivering a thunderous headbutt square into Sentry's face. There's a shockwave from the point of impact, and the void's shroud ripples like disturbed smoke. Sentry reels back mid-air, caught off guard by the brute force tactic. Hulk doesn't relent. Still clutching at Sentry, he swings the hero's body around and slams him down into the ground. They land back on land with an earth-shaking crash, Void Sentry on the bottom as Hulk drives him into the rocky shore. The ground craters beneath the impact, dust and sand blasting outward in a ring. Hulk lifts a fist and brings it down, intending to pummel this shadowed foe into oblivion. But his fist meets not flesh, but a quivering mass of darkness. The void buffers the blow, absorbing much of the force in its amorphous form. The Sentry's face, half visible in the seething shadow, splits into a grin that is all razor-edged malice. In a heartbeat, the darkness explodes outward from him, forming a tidal wave of black force that blasts the Hulk off of him. The wave of darkness carries Hulk backward, flinging him through several ruined buildings further inland. The giant smashes through walls and support beams until he skids to a stop in a field of debris that once might have been a city park. Hulk shakes his head, momentarily dazed. No enemy has ever fought him like this. This melding of physical might and otherworldly power is testing even his limits. As Hulk rises, the Void Sentry's power takes on a new horrifying shape. From the billowing shadow around Sentry, a colossal form begins to emerge, a nightmarish avatar of the Void. It towers above the shoreline, a writhing mass of darkness vaguely in the shape of a gigantic humanoid with too many limbs. Its featureless face is a void with two burning red eyes. This manifestation of the Void stands taller than a skyscraper, its shadowy appendages anchoring into the ground and water around. The gigantic Void creature lunges with impossible speed. One massive dark hand surges forward to grab the Hulk, engulfing him. Thick tendrils wrap around the Hulk's torso, pinning his arms to his sides. Another shadowy limb whips out and strikes like a battering ram, hitting Hulk square in the chest. The impact drives the air from Hulk's lungs in an agonized grunt. The onslaught continues. A flurry of hammering blows from multiple directions as the Void's manifestation literally tries to beat the Hulk into the ground. Buried under a barrage of strikes, Hulk disappears from sight, pressed into the shattered earth. The Void's giant form raises a final tendril, spearing it down like a javelin straight into the ground where Hulk lay. The earth-shaking thud that follows seems to mark a decisive end. The dark entity lingers, arm impaled into the ground. For a moment, nothing moves. Under that shadowy spike, the Hulk's body lies still in a deep crater, crushed under overwhelming force. High above, bobbing within the giant shape of darkness, the Sentry's human form watches with a cruel satisfaction in those evil red eyes. The silence after the frenzy of violence is deafening. Slowly, the massive impaling tendril withdraws, slithering back into an amorphous shape. In the depths of the pit, the Hulk lies motionless, his mighty frame battered and partially embedded in the earth. The Void Sentry gazes down at his fallen opponent. The wrathful glee radiating from him is palpable. At last, the monster that pushed him this far appears broken. The Dark Titan's form begins to shrink, condensing back down as Sentry reasserts control over the manifestation. The colossal specter of the Void folds itself back into the human-sized figure floating above the crater, streamlining back into the shadowy aura clinging to Sentry's own body. Dust hangs over the battlefield, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity of battle, the Hulk does not immediately rise. His great limbs lie slack amid the rubble. His chest, that once heaved with rage, now barely moves. The ground beneath him is stained with greenish blood seeping from numerous gashes across his body. Steam rises from his torn flesh, the remnants of Void's energy searing into him. The unstoppable force has been stopped, it seems. But the Sentry's dark visage is not one of mercy. With the Void in control, compassion or restraint do not exist. He extends a hand toward the crater, fingers clawed. The swirling darkness around him concentrates into his palm, coalescing into a spear of pure black aimed at the Hulk's heart. A coup de grace, delivered without hesitation. At the pit's edge, the Void Sentry unleashes the lance of darkness. It fires from his hand like an arrow from a bow, a concentrated bolt of annihilation. The black spear strikes true, plunging into the Hulk's broad chest and pinning him to the ground. The Hulk's body arches once with a reflexive spasm of pain. Then he lies still, impaled to the earth. The Void's projectile dissipates into smoky wisps, leaving a gaping, smoking hole where it struck. For a few long seconds, nothing happens. The Hulk's eyes, once burning with life, are closed. His massive form is limp, The night air is filled only with the crackle of distant fires and the lapping of disturbed bay waters. The world seems to sigh in relief and despair all at once. Relief that the rampaging Hulk might finally be subdued, despair that it took something as dreadful as the Void to do it. Void Sentry hovers down into the crater to inspect his kill. He lands beside the Hulk's prone form, standing over the fallen giant. In the gloom, Hulk's regenerative powers seem to falter for once. The grievous wound in his chest bubbles sluggishly with green fluid, but isn't closing. Perhaps the Void's energy is preventing the healing, or perhaps the Hulk has finally been pushed beyond even his ability to instantly recover. Sentry's shadowed face betrays no remorse, only a cold triumph. He raises one hand, wreathing it in crackling black energy, ready to deliver a final obliterating blast to ensure Hulk never rises again. Yet even as the Void moves to end the Hulk forever, a change stirs in the air. Overhead, the black sky shimmers with an eerie green tint. The flicker is subtle at first, a corona of emerald light pulsating in the heavens, unnoticed by the Dark Conqueror, fixated on his prey. At the edges of the crater, trickles of energy begin to snake toward the Hulk's body, faint wisps of green vapor seeping out of the ground like mist. The Void Sentry's hand snaps forward, releasing a torrent of darkness at the Hulk's body. But at that exact moment, the Hulk's eyes snap open, now aglow not just with anger, but with a deep, otherworldly luminescence. An explosion of green energy erupts from the Hulk's form, intercepting the Void's blast and scattering it into harmless motes. Sentry staggers back, arms raised to shield against the sudden flare of light. The ground trembles as the Hulk begins to move. Slowly, impossibly, he pushes up to his knees. The massive hole in his chest is closing before Sentry's very eyes, knitting together with unnatural speed. The Hulk's skin, once a bright, radioactive green, has taken on a darker, more ominous hue, as though shadows dance beneath the surface. His posture straightens, rising from defeat with an uncanny calm. The being that stands now in the crater is Hulk, and yet there is something fundamentally different about him. His eyes burn a fierce green in the dark, and on his wide mouth is a grin, a chilling, confident grin unfitting of a mindless beast. When he turns his gaze to the Void Sentry, it is steady and cold, the gaze of a predator who has found the upper hand. This is a Hulk reborn under the darkness of night, the Immortal Hulk. The Void Sentry hisses in irritation, taken aback at Hulk's sudden recovery and transformation. He channels the darkness again, flinging a whipping tendril toward the Hulk's face to wipe that smug expression away. But Immortal Hulk's hand flashes out with shocking speed, catching the shadowy tendril mid-strike. The Void's appendage writhes in Hulk's iron grip, trying to reform and slip free, but Hulk's fist burns with green hellfire, a gamma energy so potent it sears even the ethereal substance of the Void. With a snarl, Immortal Hulk yanks hard, and the tendril of darkness is torn apart, dissipating in tattered wisps. Now it is the Hulk who advances, step by measured step, toward the once dominant Void Sentry. Each footfall is deliberate, crushing stone into powder under his heel. The roles have shifted dramatically. The Hulk no longer charges recklessly, but stalks forward with terrifying purpose. The ground quakes subtly with every step, as if recoiling from the power contained in this new Hulk. The Void Sentry unleashes a barrage of attacks in response. Spears of darkness, bolts of red-black lightning, a surge of telepathic fear. He throws everything in desperation at this resurrected Hulk. The air fills with nightmarish visions and crackling energy. For a moment, the Immortal Hulk's surroundings twist as if reality itself warps to the Void's will. The Hulk briefly sees the visage of his father's hateful sneer in the shadows, hears the ghostly echo of monster from past tormentors swirling around him. But this Hulk is not the naive savage easily cowed by mental tricks. This Hulk was born in the crucible of Bruce Banner's deepest fears and has conquered them all. He shakes off the illusions with a growl, the green blaze of his eyes slicing through the mirages. Each dark projectile that hurtles toward Hulk finds little purchase. He strides through the storm of shadows, battered by blasts on all sides, but seemingly unfazed. Where the attacks do gouge into his flesh, he simply regenerates in seconds. The Immortal Hulk's body is a crucible of gamma power. Damage only seems to make him more relentless. He wipes sizzling, acid-like darkness from his arm and keeps marching. The distance closes. Hulk lunges and backhands the Void Sentry with a force that sends the dark figure hurtling through the night sky. Sentry smashes into the ground a quarter-mile away, carving a trench through the debris. No sooner has he skidded to a halt than Hulk is upon him, moving with a speed that belies his size. Immortal Hulk grabs the Sentry by the throat, his large hand wrapping completely around the shadow-cloaked neck. The dark aura sizzles where Hulk's fingers tighten, green energy flaring and burning away the Void's essence. Sentry struggles fiercely. The Void encasing him lashes out point-blank with tendrils and spikes, trying to impale the Hulk's body from all sides. Immortal Hulk lets out a fearsome laugh, a guttural, ominous sound as the spikes stab into him. Dark spears protrude from his sides and shoulders, and Hulk barely reacts beyond a grunt. Instead of retreating or crying out, he increases the pressure on Sentry's neck. With his other hand, Hulk begins swinging heavy blows into Sentry's torso. Each punch reverberates like a drumbeat of doom, accompanied by shockwaves that radiate out and flatten what remains of the vicinity. Cracks splinter across Sentry's exposed face as those incredible punches land, not physical cracks in bone, but fractures in the construct of darkness shielding him. The Void's form flickers and sputters with each earth-shaking hit. Enraged, the Void Sentry gathers his energy for a point-blank blast, attempting to dislodge the Hulk's grip. With a roar, he unleashes it, an omnidirectional eruption of dark energy. The blast blows Hulk off him for a brief moment and sends both staggering in opposite directions. When the dust settles, the Void Sentry rises, now visibly faltering. His silhouette appears tattered. The once impenetrable shroud of darkness around him is full of gaps, leaking smoky trails. Across from him, the Immortal Hulk stands, his regenerating flesh knitting up the last of the puncture wounds. They lock eyes once more, green fury meeting red hatred. Hulk's lip curls. Without warning, he charges. This time, Sentry cannot react fast enough. Hulk crashes into him like a runaway train, carrying both of them through the remains of several buildings behind Sentry. Walls and girders burst apart as they plow through. Hulk drives Sentry into the ground once more, but unlike earlier in the fight, it is now Hulk on top, pressing the advantage. Immortal Hulk wraps both massive arms around Sentry in a bear hug from behind and squeezes. He is determined to crush the Void out of him if need be. Sentry thrashes, flying upward in attempt to escape, but Hulk clings on, their combined weight rising into the sky above the ruined landscape. In the air, Sentry tries again to pry Hulk's arms off, black energy flaring, but Hulk's grip is iron. With a snarl, Hulk shifts his hold to Sentry's arm and leg, then twists and hurls the dark opponent back down to Earth. Sentry's body hits the ground with a meteoric impact, sending up a column of dust. The Immortal Hulk lands beside the crater instantly, seized by a new idea. Reaching down into the dust and shadows, he grabs hold of Sentry's flailing arm and shoulder. With an almighty heave and a roar that echoes across the night, Hulk begins tearing at the dark aura itself, as if attempting to rip the Void out by sheer force. His hands glow with green fire, burning and pulling. The Void Sentry shrieks, an unearthly dual-toned sound of a man and a monster in agony. Little by little, Hulk's efforts bear fruit. He wrenches upward, and from Sentry's body, a mass of writhing darkness is torn free. For a moment, it looks as though Hulk holds a struggling shadow in his grip, separate from the man beneath. Indeed, beneath the shadowy layer, Sentry's true form becomes visible. Robert Reynolds' face contorted in pain and shock as the void is peeled away from him. Hulk hurls the clutched darkness aside, and it dissipates into the night air with a fading wail. Freed from the void's immediate grasp, Sentry lies in the crater, costume torn and body bruised, golden light flickering faintly around him once more. The red glow is gone from his eyes, replaced by the dim blue of his human gaze. For the first time in this battle, the Sentry looks truly vulnerable and afraid. Immortal Hulk looms over him, breathing heavily but victorious. He lets out a triumphant growl, the primal instinct to finish his foe surging. He raises his fist high, gamma energy coalescing around it, ready to bring it down on the Sentry and end this once and for all. But something halts Hulk's fist in midair, a prickling sensation at the back of his neck, a warning from deep within. In the span of a heartbeat, the night sky above turns unnatural once more. A new power announces itself, not with subtlety but with a screaming chorus of cosmic energy. From far beyond the Earth, an unseen force has heeded the cataclysm unfolding below. Before the Hulk can process the danger, a beam of searing cosmic light lances down from the heavens, striking directly at the fallen Sentry. Hulk is blown backward by the sudden blast of radiant energy, tumbling away as he tries to shield his eyes. The light is not warm like Sentry's sun energy, nor cold like the void's darkness. It is something alien, electric blue edged with violet, crackling with an aura of death itself. The bolt of energy engulfs Sentry's broken form, lifting it into the air as if in the grip of a divine puppeteer. Sentry's eyes snap open, and his mouth opens in a silent scream as the cosmic energy pours into him, suffusing every cell of his being. Up above, through parted clouds, a glimpse of something gleams. Perhaps the silhouette of a massive distant entity or the brief shine of a celestial technology focusing on this very spot. Whatever the source, the effect is immediate and terrifying. The light clears, dropping Sentry's body back to the ground, but he does not collapse. Instead, he floats gently down, landing on his feet. The Hulk regains his footing a short distance away, narrowing his eyes at this new development. Sentry stands straight, and as he lifts his head, the moonlight reveals the change in him. His once torn costume has reformed, now an eerie combination of stark white and jet black, emblazoned with a glowing symbol on his chest, reminiscent of a halo or solar disk. His eyes burn once more, but not gold or red. They shine a cold, piercing silver. Around him swirls an aura of dark energy, not chaotic like the void's smoke, but refined, coalesced into a corona that radiates quiet devastation. The very ground at his feet withers and turns gray, as if life and color are being leached away by his mere presence. The Immortal Hulk senses it instantly. This is a new entity altogether, not the benevolent Sentry, nor the mad void, but something even more fearsome. Death itself given form in the Sentry's body. A death seed has awakened within him, unlocking a power beyond mortal or gamma-born reckoning. This is Death-Seed Sentry. For a moment, neither Titan moves. The Hulk growls, rolling his massive shoulders, preparing for yet another round. He can feel the sheer power emanating from Sentry's new form, like standing before an eclipse, an overwhelming force that prickles his skin. Yet the Hulk's defiance does not wane. If anything, this new challenge causes that inferno in his chest to burn hotter. He plants his feet, ready to fight on. Death-Seed Sentry's face is impassive, almost serene, but there is a terrifying emptiness in his expression. With deliberate slowness, he raises one arm and opens his palm toward the Hulk. The air trembles, and without sound or flash, Hulk is suddenly struck by an invisible wave of force. It's as though gravity itself multiplied tenfold around him. The ground under Hulk's feet explodes as he's driven down into it, forced to one knee by the colossal pressure. Hulk snarls, muscles straining to resist this unseen hand that tries to crush him. With a sweeping motion of Sentry's hand, that gravitational force swats Hulk sideways. The Immortal Hulk is flung across the ruined battlefield, smashing through a row of skeletal building frames. He carves a trench through the earth before digging his fingers in and grinding to a halt. Before he can fully rise, Sentry appears in front of him, moving with such speed that he covered the distance in a literal blink. A black and white fist crashes into Hulk's jaw. The crack echoes across the night. The Hulk is thrown back again, skidding like a stone over scorched earth. Sentry doesn't let him recover. He vanishes and reappears behind Hulk's trajectory, kicking the green Goliath in the back with a thunderous boom. Hulk is launched upward from the blow, tumbling end over end into the sky. The hero, once known as Sentry, blurs above his foe's path and clasps both hands together, then swings down in a hammer strike. The double fist slam smashes into Hulk mid-air and sends him hurtling back to ground like a meteor. Hulk slams into what remains of the city outskirts, hitting with a force that triggers a minor earthquake. A wide circular shockwave ripples out from the impact site, toppling any structure still upright in a 2-mile radius. A dusty mushroom cloud rises where Hulk crashed, obscuring the scene. Death-Seed Sentry floats down to the ground a short distance away, calm and unhurried, as though expending minimal effort. He tilts his head, watching the dust cloud for movement. At first, there is nothing. Then a flash of green within the gloom. Hulk's eyes opening once more. Astonishingly, the Immortal Hulk rises to his feet from the smoldering crater. His body is battered. Bones in one arm hang disjointed until he forcibly snaps them back into place with a sickening pop. A gash across his forehead trickles luminous green blood down his face. Yet even these injuries begin to close as his immortality reasserts itself. Hulk wipes the glowing blood from his eyes and fixes his gaze on Sentry again. There is no roar this time from Hulk, no bellowing challenge, only gritty determination etched in his face. He knows now he stands against an adversary at the very pinnacle of power he has encountered. The Immortal Hulk's confidence is tested for the first time. An inkling of concern flickers across his hardened features. But surrender is not in his nature. With a snort, he smashes his fists together, causing a shockwave of his own, and charges headlong once more. Hulk closes the distance with a ground-shaking sprint and swings a punch with all his might, aiming for Sentry's head. In a motion almost too fast to perceive, Sentry catches Hulk's fist in his palm. The ground beneath Sentry's feet fractures from the transferred force, but Sentry himself stands unmoved, hand clasped around Hulk's massive fist. Hulk pushes forward, pouring strength into the struggle, and for a fleeting moment it seems the brute force might overpower Sentry's hold. But then Sentry's eyes flare silver, and a pulse of energy erupts at the point of contact. The pulse blasts the Hulk backward as if hit by a cannon. Hulk tumbles, digging furrows into the ruined soil. Not giving a moment's respite, Sentry thrusts a hand forward and clenches it into a fist. The very air around Hulk solidifies into a telekinetic vice. Hulk finds himself suddenly pinned, arms and legs locked in place by an invisible crushing force. He strains mightily, every muscle fiber in his body standing out like steel cables trying to break the hold. The ground beneath him buckles as he exerts himself. Slowly, inch by inch, he forces one arm to move, the incredible might of the World Breaker and Immortal Devil combined, beginning to overcome even this psychic shackle. Death-Seed Sentry's impassive face twitches with the slightest hint of surprise as Hulk's willpower and strength push back against his telekinetic grip. To any other being, escape from that hold would be impossible. But this is the Hulk, and impossibility is just another challenge to smash. With a guttural cry, Hulk breaks free, shattering the unseen chains around him in a burst of green energy. Now free, Hulk lunges once more. He lands a solid hit on Sentry's torso, actually staggering the empowered hero a step. Encouraged, Hulk follows with another blow, and another, a flurry of superhuman punches that crash into Sentry like artillery shells. The earth quakes with each impact. On the fifth punch, Sentry reacts, catching that fist again. This time, instead of repelling Hulk with a blast, Sentry retaliates in kind, delivering a brutal headbutt to the Hulk. Foreheads collide with a sharp crack, and shockwaves ripple out. Hulk reels backward, momentarily stunned by the unexpected counter. Taking advantage, Sentry's hands slice through the air in complex motions, and suddenly searing beams of energy erupt from multiple angles around Hulk. These are different from before, tinted a sickly purple-black, imbued with the essence of death. They spear into Hulk's tough hide, burning through flesh and bone. Hulk howls in pain as one beam cuts through his thigh, another boring a hole through his shoulder. Yet he refuses to fall. Even as his leg buckles, he swings an arm upward, swatting away the remaining energy rays with a thunderclap of his palm. Sentry zooms forward and drives a knee into Hulk's midsection, folding the giant. A follow-up elbow to the back of Hulk's head drives him down to the ground. In the span of a heartbeat, Sentry conjures a sphere of crackling dark energy between his hands and slams it directly onto Hulk's back. The sphere detonates in a blast of necrotic force, sending Hulk face first into the dirt and carving out a new crater around him. For a second, all is dust and chaos. Death-Seed Sentry hovers back slightly, surveying the crater. At its center, the Hulk lies still on his stomach, a smoking crater in his back from the last attack. Unbelievably, Hulk's hands claw at the ground, still fighting to rise, his healing factor struggling to mend the massive wound. Sentry's expression hardens. He resolves to end this definitively. This abomination of gamma and rage will rise no more. He floats higher into the air, directly above the downed Hulk, and begins to draw on the full depth of the Death-Seed's cosmic power. Dark clouds swirl overhead, as the fabric of reality seems to recoil from what Sentry is summoning. The light around him warps to violet and black. In his hands, an orb of pure destructive energy grows, larger and larger, fed by the power bestowed by the Celestials, by the very concept of death and entropy. It crackles with an eerie quietness, a void of sound accompanying the void of light it represents. This is a blow to scour a being from existence entirely. Sentry intends to erase the Hulk, down to the last atom, if he can. On the ground, Immortal Hulk senses the impending doom above. Through blurred vision, he sees that growing sphere of unearthly energy. A growl of defiance rumbles from deep in his throat. Summoning every reserve of strength, Hulk pushes himself up from the ground one more time. His body is a wreck, chunks torn out, bones visible through torn muscle, but still he stands, upheld by sheer force of will and boundless rage. Green energy leaks from his wounds like vapor, and his eyes blaze bright as ever. If this is the end, he will meet it on his feet. With a final, hate-filled glare upward, the Hulk makes a choice. If he cannot withstand that attack, he will counter it. Drawing a deep breath, he summons gamma power from the very marrow of his being. His muscles swell and his aura flares violently, an emerald sun rising once more in the darkness. The ground beneath him starts to crack and lift as his energy output reaches a fever pitch. He cups his massive hands at his side, gathering all the kinetic force and gamma fire he can muster, preparing to project it outward. High above, Death-Seed Sentry's eyes shine as he prepares to unleash the killing blow. He speaks no words, none are needed, as he thrusts his hands down, releasing the sphere of oblivion upon the Hulk. The death sphere hurtles downward, devouring the darkness of night with its blinding aura. At the same instant, the Hulk thrusts his own hands upward, unleashing a titanic clap of gamma-charged force combined with every last erg of strength in his body. Emerald energy surges from the Hulk in a colossal shockwave, meeting the descending orb of oblivion head-on. The collision is cataclysmic. Green and violet energies crash together, intertwining in a wild maelstrom of power. For a moment, it's as if a new sun has ignited at the battlefield. The night blazes into day under a dome of searing light and raw force. The ground beneath them is annihilated in a perfect circle, an expanding crater vaporizing outward. The shock of the impact ripples through the atmosphere. Windows shatter in cities hundreds of miles away, and satellites in low orbit register a blinding flash. All anyone nearby can see is an incandescent sphere of energy where the two attacks meet, an orb of swirling green and purple lightning. At its center, the Hulk stands braced, arms outstretched, catching the brunt of Sentry's unleashed death blast. The Immortal Hulk's feet slide back inch by inch in the dirt as the overwhelming power presses down on him. His muscles swell and strain, bones audibly creaking under the pressure. He roars in defiance, pouring every ounce of rage and will into pushing back the destructive energy. Death-Seed Sentry hovers above, channeling more power into the blast, intent on finally erasing the Hulk. For all his strength, even the Sentry is sweating now, beams of energy pouring from his eyes as he focuses. The ground beneath Hulk begins to buckle and liquefy from the heat. The green giant sinks to one knee. The weight of a collapsing star seems to bear down on him. Slowly, agonizingly, his outstretched arms begin to buckle inward under the strain. The Hulk bellows in agony and fury. This cannot be the end. Not after all this. Not at the hands of anyone. The words echo in his mind, a desperate mantra. Hulk is the strongest one there is. It's not a boast now, but a declaration against oblivion. Somewhere in the infinite well of his being, Hulk finds yet another reserve. Deep inside that battered body, the final spark of his boundless anger ignites. An anger at defeat, at failure, at the very concept of giving up. That spark catches flame, exploding into an inferno of resolve. Suddenly, instead of collapsing, the Hulk stands. Inch by inch, he pushes up from the kneeling position, forcing his arms back to full extension. The tide of the energy blast begins to turn. The Immortal Hulk's aura flares brighter and brighter, shifting in color from green to a brilliant whitish emerald. Within the core of the Hulk, gamma energy undergoes a metamorphosis, fueled by the cosmic onslaught. His eyes blaze white-green, and from his open mouth erupts a primal scream that resonates like a cosmic horn. In that pivotal moment, Hulk does what no one expects. He begins to absorb the energy. His outstretched hands, instead of merely resisting, now grasp at the edges of the destructive sphere and pull. Like a dying star siphoned into a black hole, the violet death energy swirls and funnels into the Hulk's massive frame. Sentry's eyes widen in shock as his ultimate attack, meant to vaporize, is being devoured. Hulk's body drinks in the power, the green light around him intensifying to an almost blinding brilliance. The ground beneath Hulk's feet melts and reforms as glass from the heat and raw radiation being absorbed. His muscles, already enormous, grow even more defined, veins of light tracing across his skin. The pain that racked Hulk's face transforms into grim exultation. He is taking all that the Sentry can throw at him, and he's taking it in. High above, Sentry screams in defiance and doubles the output of his blast, determined to overload the monster. The orb of combined energy roils violently, on the verge of an earth-shattering detonation. But the Hulk's hunger for power is limitless at this apex of his rage. With one final surge of effort, he rips his arms apart, tearing the death sphere asunder and drawing its energy straight into himself. The orb implodes inward toward the Hulk, streams of purple and black being subsumed into the raging green furnace of his being. There is a colossal boom, not an explosion outward, but an implosion inward. A shockwave of light collapses into the Hulk's chest, and for an instant, all falls silent and dark. Death-Seed Sentry hovers uncertainly, his ultimate weapon suddenly gone. The night's darkness returns, and for a heartbeat he sees nothing through the haze of dust and steam. Then, at the center of the impact site, a figure stands. It glows with a new radiance, a brilliant emerald figure etched with veins of starry white, a halo of crackling cosmic energy dancing around its form. The Hulk has changed. No longer merely a creature of earthly rage, he now crackles with cosmic might, a titan bathed in the power of suns and beyond. The very air shimmers around him as if reality itself bends to his presence. Cosmic Hulk opens his eyes, and twin beams of greenish-white light shoot forth, illuminating the shocked visage of the sentry above. He flexes his fingers, which now leave trails of light in their wake. Slowly, almost leisurely, the Hulk levitates off the ground. He is not merely jumping, he is floating upward, borne aloft by the sheer magnitude of energy within. In that moment, he appears godlike, an elemental force of the universe wearing the shape of a man. Death-Seed Sentry regains his composure and launches forward, fist cocked, refusing to believe what he's witnessing. He swings at the ascending Hulk with all his remaining might. The blow connects squarely with the Hulk's jaw in a burst of black energy, but Hulk's head hardly turns. The cosmic-empowered Hulk slowly brings his gaze back to meet Sentry's, a faint smirk on his face. It's as if the punch was nothing more than a light tap. Now it's Hulk's turn. He draws back an arm that crackles with green lightning and delivers a punch of his own to Sentry's torso. The impact is like a planet colliding with a mountain. Time seems to slow as Sentry's body folds around the Hulk's fist, spittle flying from his mouth. A massive shockwave erupts, the sound barrier shattering into a deafening boom that rolls across the land. In an instant, Sentry is rocketed upward, streaking into the sky like a falling star in reverse. The Hulk's blow sends Sentry clean out of Earth's atmosphere in a blink. High above, the Sentry crashes through the lower edge of space, regaining control only to see the Hulk is already there. With astonishing speed, the Hulk has leapt or flown into orbit, intercepting Sentry among the stars. They hover against the backdrop of the Earth's curvature and the blackness of space. Two lone figures carrying on their duel beyond the bounds of the planet that can no longer withstand it. Sentry, gritting his teeth, summons cosmic fire of his own and hurls bolt after bolt of crackling energy at the Hulk. Each blast that hits causes a burst of light, but when the glare fades, the Hulk remains, unharmed and inexorable. He moves through the void with ease, leaving a comet tail of green luminescence behind him. They clash again in the silence of space, an exchange of blows so fierce it sends shockwaves through the vacuum. Sentry grabs hold of Hulk and drives him in a blazing arc toward the moon, slamming him onto the lunar surface. The grey dust of the moon billows as a crater forms beneath Hulk's impact. Undeterred, the cosmic Hulk rises from the crater and retaliates with an uppercut that lifts Sentry off the moon's surface. The Hulk follows through by seizing Sentry by the ankle and swinging him like a rag doll, hammering him down onto the moon once, twice, 3 times, each hit sending lunar regolith flying into space. With a final swing, Hulk releases, throwing Sentry away from the moon. The Sentry's body streaks across space toward Earth like a blazing meteor. Hulk kicks off the lunar soil and rockets after him, a green streak closing the distance in seconds. As Earth's gravity draws them back in, the two begin to re-enter the atmosphere, burning streaks of fire trailing behind them. Sentry struggles, trying to slow his descent with his remaining power, but Hulk is upon him with relentless fury. They break through the cloud layers, over a vast desert plain far from any city. The trajectory of their orbital battle has displaced them across the globe. The sky glows as if two meteors were crashing to Earth. At the last moment, Hulk locks his arms around Sentry from behind in a crushing grip. Together, they plummet into the barren desert with a cataclysmic impact. Sand and rock erupt into a plume that reaches miles high. The ground quakes as a crater dozens of miles wide is carved into the wilderness. In the epicenter of that new impact crater, the dust settles to reveal Hulk still standing, holding a limp Sentry by the front of his once pristine costume. The cosmic energy around Hulk begins to subside, the titanic battle nearing its end. He lifts Sentry up off the ground with one hand. Sentry's head hangs back, silver eyes flickering weakly, the Death-Seed's power ebbing. For a moment, the two hang there in silence, the triumphant Emerald Titan and the defeated Angel of Death. With a low growl, Hulk cocks his free fist back one last time. This blow is not fueled by rage or desperation, but by the grim certainty that this must end. His fist crashes into Sentry's chest with finality. The force is beyond anything yet delivered. A punch that could crack the crust of a planet. It strikes Sentry like a divine hammer. Sentry's chest plate shatters, the energy of the Death-Seed splintering and exploding outward in a shock of black and white light. Hulk's blow drives completely through the remaining aura of power and into Sentry's human flesh beneath. A bright flash envelops them both. When the light fades, Hulk stands over the crumpled form of Robert Reynolds. The Sentry's transformative energy is gone. His body has reverted to that of a man, battered, broken, but alive. The symbol on his chest flickers and fades out. The Death-Seed's empowerment disperses into glittering motes that dissolve into the air like fading embers. The long nightmare is finally over. The cosmic fire in the Hulk's eyes dims. The green glow that cloaked him begins to evaporate, lifting from his massive frame like steam. Hulk's chest rises and falls with deep, heaving breaths. His fists unclench. The adrenaline of battle drains away, and with it, the towering rage that had sustained him. He looks down at the unconscious Sentry, at Bob, freed at last from the torment of his own power, and something of empathy flickers in the Hulk's gaze. The fight is won. All around them, the desert night is quiet, save for the crackle of cooling rock. The stars overhead shine down innocently upon the ravaged land. From the lip of the enormous crater, sand begins to slide inward. The Earth is attempting to resettle after the titanic forces that tore it open. At the center, the Hulk sways on his feet, exhaustion finally seeping into his colossal limbs. In a gentle glow of dawn on the horizon, the first rays of morning light creep into the sky. The darkness of the night recedes, and with it, the Immortal Hulk's time wanes. As the sun's rays touch the Hulk's form, he grimaces and staggers back. His gargantuan frame begins to shrink, and his viridian skin starts to pale. Bones crack and muscles retract with each labored breath. In moments, the Hulk's body has withered down, transforming back into the slight, human shape of Bruce Banner. Banner collapses to his hands and knees in the settling dust. He is shirtless, his pants torn and ragged, his face bruised and streaked with dirt. For a long moment, Bruce simply breathes, staring down at the sand as if unsure reality has returned. Then, with trembling effort, he pushes himself up and crawls the short distance to where Bob Reynolds lies. Robert's eyes are closed, his blonde hair matted with blood and sand. Without his aura, he looks painfully human, just a man who took more than his body could bear. Bruce gingerly reaches out and checks for a pulse at Bob's neck. A faint but steady throb reassures him. Sentry lives, freed from his burdens for now. Banner exhales a breath he didn't realize he was holding, a mixture of relief and sorrow in his tired eyes. He sinks back onto the ground, sitting beside the man who was moments ago one of the most powerful beings in the universe. Around them, the massive crater is a testament to the battle that will likely never be forgotten. Smoke rises in thin wisps from patches of molten sand turned to glass. Far in the distance, sirens and helicopter blades can be heard, the world finally daring to come closer now that the chaos has subsided. Bruce lifts his gaze to the brightening horizon. The sun is climbing, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold. In that light, the devastation around them takes on a quiet, solemn beauty. He knows that when others arrive, there will be questions and fears. But in this solitary moment, there is a calm understanding that settles in his heart. The beast within him, within both of them, has been quelled at terrible cost, but it is done. As dawn breaks fully, Bruce Banner closes his eyes, a single tear tracing down his cheek, whether from the pain, relief, or memory of those lost he alone can know. Next to him, Robert Reynolds stirs ever so slightly, a faint groan escaping his lips. He is alive, his inner demons beaten into silence, at least for now. In the new day's light, two broken men remain where gods once battled. The Hulk is gone. The Sentry is quelled. What's left is fragile, mortal, and profoundly human. Bruce places a hand on Bob's shoulder, a gentle gesture amid the ruins, as if to assure him he's not alone when he wakes. All around the crater's rim, silhouettes of emergency vehicles and approaching figures appear, hesitant to come closer to the two figures at the center of the storm. The winds pick up, carrying away the last traces of cosmic dust and shadow. The long night has ended, and with it, an epic clash of titans passes into history. Where unimaginable power once tore the heavens and earth asunder, now there is peace. In that fragile peace, hope begins to bloom, that the worst is over, that the monstrous forces within can be tamed, and that even after the most explosive conflict, dawn will come. The Hulk and the Sentry fought with all the fury of gods, but as the sun rises on the aftermath, it is the humanity in them that remains. And in this quiet moment, with the world looking on in awe, and the desert wind gently blowing through the vast, scarred battlefield, the saga finds its end. The day has been saved by the very power that nearly destroyed it. The mighty have fallen back to earth, and from the ashes of their battle, the first light of hope shines anew. The epic clash is over, decisively, undeniably, and forever etched into the memories of all who witnessed the wrath and the redemption of the strongest there is.